We're Citizens Advice Scotland. We're celebrating 80 years of advice.
Somebody saying thank you very much. I can't talk to my family, but I can talk to you.
After speaking to you, I feel better, I know what I'm doing now. I mean, it's just the wee things like that, but that's pretty much every day.
Life is complicated for a lot of people. That's where people come into us with one problem, we deal with all of the problems, whether they view themselves at that time as a citizen or as a consumer.
After giving our first advice in 1939, our focus in the first 6 years was supporting people in wartime. At the end of the war, big social changes meant we had to adapt and find a new role. As we moved into the 60s and 70s, trust grew and the network expanded in response to growing needs.
Large areas of Scotland discovered that their reason for being was no longer valued nationally, and there were huge social problems associated with that.
Across the decades, we'd respond to other changes, including devolution. But the constants of debt, benefits and housing problems would remain recognisable to today's cab advisors.
That would apply to you.
We've remained relevant over the 80 years. We're adaptable to change, and that change is a constant, and we'll continue to do that.
Going beyond innovations in technology and its impact on how we deliver advice, we've responded to changing needs in other ways. Into the 21st century, we've built new advice projects targeted towards particular groups like the armed services, NHS patients, kinship carers, and those claiming universal credit. The value of our network is not just in the advice we give, but also in how we use our evidence to advocate for change.
A recent example of how we have lobbied and influenced in behalf of vulnerable people is through the new Social Security bill that went through Parliament. The evidence that we got from Aberdeen to Inverness to Ayrshire to Glasgow to Edinburgh all contributed to the evidence that we put forward for that made sure that the bill that went through understood what real people's feelings and concerns were.
We also use our evidence to raise awareness in the media of the issues that affect our clients.
It's useful to me as a journalist in terms of taking the pulse of some of the really big troubling issues that affect our society, whether it's welfare reform or food banks or consumer issues or workers' rights. You can pick up from across the country of what sort of issues people are encountering.
In our 80th year, not everything is new.
What I think has not changed is that we are still a citizen service by citizens for citizens and in their communities. And if anything, it's needed much, much more now than it's ever been.
One of the arguments for working as a voluntary force is called solidarity. It's about recognising the responsibilities and duties we have to each other, but it's also forming a sort of social glue.
Bye-bye, have a nice day.
Bye.
In parts of the world we see now, we don't think that communities really exist. Cabs are an absolute encapsulation of how those communities still are vibrant across Scotland.
As much as I like to think I've given to this community, the continuing employment I've had here has helped me and it's helped my family. This has become like family.
It can be quite emotionally draining working in here sometimes. People aren't here, to just do a job and go home and pay the bills. People come in here most of the time because they actually want to help people.
We have days in here when we truly do despair, but then at the end of that day when we see what we've done, what we've managed to achieve for people, it makes it worthwhile.
Trust is something that not all bodies have. Trust in the CAB has definitely got to be celebrated.
We're looking forward to our next 80 years.
The aspiration for us is that we continue to change people's lives on a daily basis and positively affect the outcomes that they get from governments and agencies.
It's ethos and values that makes us what we are today, and that remains the same. You can package it up differently and we can deliver the service in a much more modern way, but it's basically our values and our ethos that should last and continue to last for the next 80 years.
Somebody saying thank you very much. You've been a help listening to me. Job satisfaction.
We're celebrating 80 years of citizens' advice in Scotland and looking forward to our future.